अस्सलाम वालेकुम खुशामदीद नाज़रीन, वेलकम बैक टू द सेकंड हाफ ऑफ हेल्थ मैटर्स प्रोग्राम। पहले हाफ में हमने डिस्कस किया बच्चों के मेंटल हेल्थ के बारे में कि ये मेंटल हेल्थ किस तरह बच्चों को अफेक्ट कर सकती है, इसके साइंस क्या है, और समटाइम्स हमारी एशियन कम्युनिटी में कभी कभी ये हम पिकअप नहीं करते क्योंकि ये मेंटल हेल्थ एक ऐसी बीमारी नहीं है जो एक आम बंदे को दिख सके, यानी कि ब्रोकन आर्म हो जाए या कोई फ्लू वगैरह हो। ये मेंटल हेल्थ कभी कभी किसी को दिखती नहीं है क्योंकि जहनी बीमारी होती है। सो समटाइम्स हमारी कम्युनिटीज़ में हम ये रिकग्नाइज़ नहीं करते और कभी सोचते हैं कि ये बंदा वैसे ही कोई ड्रामा कर रहा है या इसमें कोई जिन की शिकायत है या इसमें किसी ने कुछ कर दिया है। तो अली हमें बता रही थी कि कितने इम्पोर्टेंट है कि मेंटल हेल्थ के साइन हम नोटिस करें अपने बच्चों में। अली ने ऑल्सो हमें बताया कि जो बच्चों के ज़िंदगी में माँ बाप हैं और बाकी की फैमिली है, उनका कितना इम्पोर्टेंट रोल है बच्चों की मेंटल हेल्थ में। और ये बहुत ज़रूरी है कि हम अपने बच्चों के साथ टाइम गुजारें, उनको प्यार दें, उनसे बातें पूछें तो वो हमें बता सके कि अगर स्कूल में उनको कोई प्रॉब्लम है, अगर उनको कोई बुली कर रहा है, अगर उनको कोई एग्ज़ाम्स की स्ट्रेस है। और ऑल्सो हमें ये अली ने बताया कि जो माँ बाप की ज़िंदगी में हो रहा है वो भी माँ बाप शायद सोचे कि बच्चों को समझ नहीं आती, लेकिन उनको माँ बाप की लड़ाई के सब कुछ समझ आती है। अगर माँ बाप की सेपरेशन हो रही है, डिवोर्स हो रही है, कुछ भी प्रॉब्लम्स हो तो बच्चे ये पिकअप कर सकते हैं। और ये मेंटल हेल्थ एक ऐसी चीज़ है कि ये नहीं कि उनकी बचपन में उनको ये एक्सपोज हुए हैं मेंटल हेल्थ में और बस वहीं पे ख़त्म हो जाए। ये मेंटल हेल्थ एक ऐसी चीज़ है कि जो बचपन में होता है ना, वो उनकी एडल्ट ज़िंदगी में भी इम्पैक्ट करता है। सो बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक है कि हम अपने बच्चों की मेंटल हेल्थ और इमोशनल हेल्थ के बारे में ख्याल रखें। चलते हैं एक बार फिर अपने स्टूडियो गेस्ट अली सुल्ताना की तरफ। Thank you, Ali. Some really important points that we were discussing in the first half about children's mental health. Ali, you work for the NSPCC. Can you tell me a bit about what you do and what the role of the NSPCC is in relation to mental health?
Absolutely. The NSPCC, it stands for National Society of Protection and Cruelty for Children, and in essence it started around over 100 years ago now. And I really want to emphasise that it was started by a clergyman, so a person of faith. You know, he could see that there was children in that particular time who weren't treated very, very well. They were out on the streets begging. You know, it wasn't a good time for children at all. And he started the society with a group of friends, and today it's kind of grown and grown. We've got centres all over the country who deliver services to parents, families and children.
So that's all over the UK?
That's right, yeah, certainly in the big cities. We've got centres who deliver the services, we've got a helpline, we've got a Childern, so a school service as well, who go out to the primary schools to deliver assemblies and workshops around how children can keep themselves safe. We've got campaigns around different topics such as internet safety, sexual abuse, and so on. So it's a varied services that we deliver, and also supporting children who have parents who have mental health issues as well.
Okay, so it's the family.
Yeah, the family, and domestic violence too. So there's some work in Leicester that we're doing around domestic violence and emotional abuse, and in Birmingham with children and their families. It could be parents that have mental health issues, so it could be that the parents have their treatment and their therapies through the mental health services, but sometimes it's not recognised that the children that will be impacted on the children. So we would work with the children in Birmingham.
Ali, what kind of campaigns do you run? Because I know and your title says campaigns manager. What kind of campaigns does the NSPCC run?
Yeah, it might be a little while ago that you may have heard of the Full Stop campaign, and we
is
ran
that the green?
That's right, that green stop. And more recently, we are campaigning around internet safety, and we're campaigning around sexual abuse as well. So what we've produced are guides for parents and carers to be able to use the guides and tips on how to have conversations with their children about keeping themselves safe on the internet, keeping themselves safe from sexual abuse, but without saying any scary words or you know, making it uncomfortable. But we really want to be able to support parents. So we've got those campaigns, we've got the helpline number as well for parents and carers, and we want to emphasise that we're out there to help parents and carers. We're not there to kind of take anybody's children away or anything like that, you know. But we would work with the necessary authorities if that needed to be the case. But actually, parents can call us if they've got a child that's spending 3-4 hours on the internet, or if they're going through bullying and they just don't know how to handle it. Actually, they can call us and we'll be able to guide them through that and give them some literature, give them some advice on that. So that there's lots of things that there's lots of resources that we have for families, and they can use, and for schools as well. So with the guide that we produce for parents on internet safety and sexual abuse, we've got guides for schools to use with the children as well. So we want to work, and my role really is to be able to reach out to different communities, different age groups, of different people from different backgrounds, to be able to carry these messages forward that they can then share with other people, other parents and so forth.
Ali, you mentioned the Full Stop campaign, you've mentioned the internet safety, you've also got some high profile campaigns around the PANTS campaign.
This is right.
Yeah, can you tell me a bit about that campaign?
The PANTS campaign is a prevention campaign for sexual abuse. So it's centred around the acronym, and then what parents do is have short conversations with their children on how to keep themselves safe. So for example, PANTS, so they have their underwear, so wherever they wear their underwear, they know that that's their private part.
Yeah, and nobody should touch it.
And nobody should touch it. Or they know that they can talk to them if they have a problem. So so T, for example, would stand for talk to somebody you trust. So so they can talk to the child and say, actually, you know that you can talk to me if something is worrying you, if something is upsetting you, you can talk to me, can't you? And it's just that reminder, because what we are reminded of is that 1 in 10 children who did suffer from sexual abuse didn't tell anybody at the time, and it could be that just having that conversation with that child, a couple of times, or again, like we talked about before, having conversations while we're walking back from school, while it's dinner time or bath time or something like this. And that's a really, really popular campaign. We've had lots of parents on board. So if there is somebody that wants to be involved in that or wants to know more about that, they can look on the NSPCC website, or they can call our helpline by all means. And if you explain to children, doesn't matter how young they are, 3 or 4 years old, they do understand it, because I've got nieces and nephews and they've done the PANTS campaign, and if you're then going to change them, they'll say, no, I want my mummy to do it. Or, so they do understand, don't they? Absolutely. And parents are really good at telling their children not to talk to strangers, we're out in the park, or really good at road safety and that kind of thing. So this can be just incorporated within all of those little messages. When they're having a bath, or when they're walking to school, we can tell them, that's your auntie. If you want to ever talk to her, or who else can you talk to, apart from me, who else do you trust, and that kind of thing. So that your child has got someone to talk to. And actually, Childline calls the reason for children call Childline is because they haven't got anyone to talk to.
So again and again, that talking and having that conversation is really, really important with your children.
Absolutely. And the NSPCC website is there for parents and carers, or any adults really, if they notice something that's happening to another child anywhere, because as a community, I think in the Muslim community, it's very important that it's always emphasised that we're a community, we take care of each other, we look out for each other, we look out for our neighbours and our friends and so forth. So it's really important that we look out for the children as well.
Of course,
we look out if there's any signs of them being abused, or you see them crying on the way to school. And it's not to say it might just happen once and you think somebody's been abused, but generally as adults we have a feeling that something doesn't feel right, and they can call the helpline. The helpline number's on the screen, 0808 800 5000, and that's a 24-hour helpline that adults can call if they notice, if they see or feel there's any abuse going on.
So that's really important that number is scrolling at the bottom of our screen as we speak. Ali, you mentioned about some of the resources that NSPCC have, some of the guides, etc. Is there anything else that you use to support children and families?
Yeah, sure. Within the service centres, there is different services, therapeutic services for children and families. So something that for neglect, for example, we would use something called a graded care profile. It might not mean anything to somebody at home, but what it is essentially is those parents that have come to us that are not handling things very well, maybe they've been a referral through social services, we would work with them. So, you know, as I said before, don't be scared of asking for help. Don't be scared that if you say something,
your children will be taken away.
Absolutely, because they're not going to be if that isn't what's needed. You know, we want children to stay with their loved ones and where it is possible. So, for example, if somebody calls in its PCC helpline and they've got an inkling that something is wrong, but they're not completely sure, we would investigate that, and if there's nothing going on, then you're not going to get into trouble. It is confidential. And the services that we deliver, for example, when somebody is referred, we would work with them to see if what a parent is doing really, really well. You know, we would grade that with them. We'll look at where the improvements need to be, and then we will work with them to make those improvements happen. So it's kind of very cooperative services that we deliver, and we want the children and parents to be on board with that. And actually, when we work with the parents, they're actually quite cooperative, and sometimes it might be that they haven't had those role models. They're really good role models as their parents, as their extended family members, so they go on to have children and treat them in a certain way because that's how they've been treated. They don't know any better or different, so we would work with them to be able to get their parenting skills improved and so on, and once we can see that happen, then we know that the child is safe. So there's lots of different tools that we use for that. We would provide therapeutic services to children who are going through sexual abuse or domestic violence and so forth, and what we do with these services then is I won't go into too much detail, but what we do in the services is we evaluate these services, see how they've worked, and then we're able to share the learning from that with maybe local authorities and services so they can take that on board. But there's lots of different services that we provide for children and families, and we want children and families to use them. So, for example, on the website you'll see information about internet safety, how parents can keep their children safe online, but also things like when you're a new parent, you don't know what to do when the child is crying.
Of course, yes.
You know, and there's information about that as well, and so forth. So we want to be able to reach out to communities and to let them know that there's all these resources that we have, including the helpline for parenting, that they can make use of, really.
And if we have any parents out there that are now watching and worrying, in terms of their children, is there any signs, symptoms, anything that they should be looking to notice in their children?
Absolutely there is. We know that all children are different, and you know, depending on their ages, it will be different types of things. But generally speaking, it could be that they lose their appetite. You know, they're having trouble sleeping. You see them upset a lot. It could be that they really enjoyed an activity before. They really enjoyed, I don't know, it could be cricket, but they don't want to do that anymore.
Not engaging in it.
They're not engaging. They're isolating themselves. They're sitting in their room a lot. They're not sitting with their families. They're not talking to their friends anymore. It could be something physical that you see, maybe cuts on their arms or their limbs and things like that. It could be that they're self-harming. So those physical things as well. Some children, they can go on to, maybe they're indulging in alcohol or drugs or something like that because of something that is bothering them in their life emotionally, that they're not able to handle or talk to anybody. So it's important that parents notice some of these things, and they're around to notice these things.
And in terms of what can parents do to help them?
Parents can initially try talking to their children, and that's what we'd encourage. That's why we have the guides for children, for parents. But if they don't feel comfortable, they can certainly call the helpline. We would be able to support them and help them. So if they call the helpline, it's open 24 hours a day. it's very confidential, and they can talk to us about, you know, it could be the slightest thing that's out of place, and they see that their child is, it could be just a feeling, it could be that, you know, that
your sixth sense, or something's not quite right.
Parents always talk about this, don't they? They always talk about their sixth sense and so forth. So something isn't quite right, so they can call the helpline, we can talk it through them, and then if there is any more things that they need to look out for and that type of thing, then that they're aware of that, because nobody gets a handbook, do they, about parenting and whatnot. So there's lots of different things. It could be that they miss in school, you know, you send your children off to school every day but they miss in school. It could be feedback from teachers, or if you've got some concerns, you can actually approach the school and say, actually, you know, how's my child doing at school? And it's taken that time out sometimes, because we know that teachers are very busy as well and that type of thing, and they don't always get to have conversations. Don't leave it to parents' evening, you know. Have those conversations, and there's lots of things that they can do. There's lots of information on the NSPCC website. We've got the helpline if you want to talk to somebody. We can be contacted online as well through email. And as children, if they really, you know, if they feel like they can't talk to anybody because they might think that their parents don't understand and that type of thing, they do have the Childline as well, which is again a free phone number, 0800 1111. It will be on the screen very shortly.
That's 0800 1111.
That's right, and it's a free phone number, and it doesn't even come up on the bill. So children can talk to an advisor online, or they can call as well, and it's not to be, and parents shouldn't feel offended if children do that, you know, because sometimes it can be hard to open up a conversation about, you know, what's going on in people's minds or what's going on in their life, and it's a good thing that, you know, at least the child is calling the helpline number,
because some support.
That's it, they have some support.
So Ali, that leads me on to my next question, is parents seeking professional help, because sometimes I suppose parents watching this may think, well, actually, if I'm seeking help, does that mean I'm not doing such a good job myself? What will the authorities think? What will family members think? What, you know, but what would you say in terms of when's that point that parents need to seek that professional help?
Very early on.
Okay.
You know, very early on. It's, you know, you make a really good point about, you know, parents might think that they failed their children if they need help, and so, but actually that's not the case. You know, the professional community, they're really supportive of parents contacting them, and what we see is that children are getting on. It's becoming really serious. You know, the issues
by the
that
time
they
come to you?
By the time they come to us. So if what we want to do is to let parents know that there is support out there very early on. So it could be that they talk to their family support worker, you know, it could be that they talk to the GP and so forth, because if these things are monitored and they're caught early, then they won't have to progress, and there isn't any shame in it, you know. You know, you might think that people in the community, you know, what's the community going to say, you know, people are going to find out, but actually I think everybody has their, you know, every family has their own issues that and challenges that they have, and for long as you're giving the support, your first priority is to give the support to your family
and your child,
you know, and it's not about what other people are going to say or what they're going to think, because really people don't care. You know, we all know that, and they can approach different professionals. They can, if they're not sure, and I find that parents confide in other parents as well, you know, and that's a good thing, to be able to, you know, when I see all the time when you go to a cafe and there's a group of mums together and they're all talking about how well their baby slept or didn't sleep, and they're all sharing tips and that kind of thing, and that's really helpful. But yeah, seeking help, there is absolutely no shame in it. The earlier that we can see something that's going on, we can recognise the signs, the easier it is to be able to have that help and intervention. So that early intervention, right, as soon as a parent needs that help, to ask for that help and shout out. This is it, it's better to ask for it and find out that there's nothing wrong, you know, than to leave it until it's really serious, where maybe somebody's self-harming, or they've got suicidal thoughts, or they're on drugs and alcohol and that type of thing, and to know that to ask for help is a better and a stronger thing, really, because nobody in this world can do everything by themselves.
Yeah. And in terms of as parents, where do we go and seek help?
Yeah, there's a number of places really. On the NSPCC website, there's a whole range of topics that are up for discussion with parents. So you can go on that. The NSPCC website is nspcc.org.uk. It's a whole range of resources on that. They can call the parenting helpline that we've talked about before. That's 0808 800 5000. And they can also go and talk to their GP, for example. You know, lots of parents have really good relationships with their GPs and their family support workers and that type of thing. So they can certainly be able to, where there is a referral that needs to be made, they can make that. And schools as well, teachers and so forth. So they can use those pathways and those professionals to be able to make any referrals and that type of thing. But there is a whole load of resources that we provide on our website, the helpline and so forth, that we can also refer parents onto as well.
And Ali, your resources and even the people at the NSPCC operating centre or on the other end of the phone, do they speak other community languages?
They do indeed.
They do?
Yeah, they do indeed, yeah. So it's not in English. Don't think I've got to call this, helpline and they're going to talk to me in English. There's a range of people, all different community languages. So don't feel afraid to ask for that. And if they don't want to talk to anybody, they can email us. They can email us and then we can go from there. So yeah, all the support is out there really. It could be something that that they don't want to talk to us about, so they can email us or contact us online as
Fantastic.
well.
And in terms of what can a parent expect if their child's in support and treatment?
What they can expect is that it might take a little while, depending on the seriousness of the emotional issues of the child. It can be taking a little while. Be patient and talk to the healthcare professionals, talk to the professionals that are involved about what they need, what they can do to help as well. And professionals are really good at involving parents and carers. So it'll be about just keeping up to date, really taking interest in what's happening, and to be able to monitor it and not just see, and also see is, if the child has got better, it's not reminding the child that that this is happening, it might happen, but being mindful that it might happen again. And put those interventions in place to stop it from happening again. So if you're having conversations with your children, don't stop having them once they've got better. Continue it, absolutely, and continue having those open conversations with those professionals and so forth, and really putting good effort into supporting their child really. And professionals are really good at sharing information with the parents, so they can expect a really kind of good services. There's lots more services out there than there used to be, and they're very professional and very good, and they can expect them to be supportive.
Ali, thank you very much. We're near the end of our programme, and I want to ask you, is there any final messages that you want to leave for our viewers today?
Yeah, I'd like to say that to seek help if you think that there's something that isn't quite right with your child, if you feel like they might be being bullied or you want some parenting advice, please contact us at the NSPCC. Our website is nspcc.org.uk and our telephone number is 0808 800 5000. I'll encourage everyone to call us. It's a confidential line. No one's going to find out about it. If there's the slightest thing that you're concerned about, then please contact us. If there's any other children in the community that you feel need support, then please contact us as well.
नाज़रीन, ये थी हमारी स्टूडियो गेस्ट आली सुल्ताना, जो कैंपेन्स मैनेजर है NSPCC में. इन्होंने हमें बताया कि कितना इम्पोर्टेंट है कि अगर हमें कुछ भी वरी है अपने बच्चों के मेंटल हेल्थ में के बारे में, इमोशनल हेल्थ के बारे में, हम लेट उसको रहने ना दें, जल्दी से जल्दी प्रोफेशनल से सपोर्ट मांग लें। इनकी जो है फ़ोन लाइन जिस पे आप फ़ोन कर सकते हैं वो स्क्रीन के बॉटम पर स्क्रॉल कर रही है, आप वो नंबर नोट कर लें। NSPCC का चाइल्ड लाइन का भी नंबर नोट कर सकते हैं, आप इनको फ़ोन करके एडवाइस और गाइडेंस ले सकते हैं। ये सिर्फ इंग्लिश में नहीं बात करते, डिफरेंट लैंग्वेजेस में भी बात करते हैं। ऑल्सो आप इनकी वेबसाइट पे जा सकते हैं जहाँ पर इनकी बहुत सारी गाइड्स हैं, वो गाइड्स आपको मदद करेंगी कि अगर आपने अपने बच्चों के साथ कॉन्वर्सेशन लेना है किसी बारे में तो आप उसकी हेल्प ले सकते हैं कि वो कॉन्वर्सेशन किस तरह स्टार्ट करें। इन्होंने हमें एक्सप्लेन किया कि बहुत सारे प्रोफेशनल्स अवेलेबल हैं। अगर हम अपने बच्चों के इमोशनल हेल्थ के बारे में या मेंटल हेल्थ के बारे में हम वरीड हैं तो हम अपने GPs के साथ बात कर सकते हैं, टीचर्स के पास जा सकते हैं, NSPCC को कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं, चाइल्ड लाइन को कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं। तो फिर ये हमें हमारे बच्चों के लिए सपोर्ट देंगे और फैमिलीज़ को भी सपोर्ट देंगे। अब हो चुका है हमारे प्रोग्राम ख़त्म होने का टाइम। अगले हफ्ते के लिए नसरीन आपसे लेती है इजाज़त। अल्लाह हाफिज़।